Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we conclude a two-part series with Dr. Roger McClain from the Washburn School of Law. It's the top 10 developments in agriculture legal actions in 2020. This week, 5 to number 1. We also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas Department of Agriculture, and Kansas Grain Sorghum, and our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of KCO ISO.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
In ag news from agview.net, USDA forecasts net farm income to decrease $9.8 billion, or 8.1% in 2021 to $11.4 billion. Now that decline largely driven by less expected government assistance to farmers. Now in addition, adjusted to $21, net farm income forecast to decrease $12 billion this year after increasing $37.8 billion in 2020. That was the highest level since 2013. Now, despite the decline, 2021 net farm income would be 21% above the 2000 through 2019 average of $92.1 billion. Now, after increasing a forecast to $27.3 billion in 2020, net cash farm income forecast to decrease nearly $8 billion in 2021. Net cash farm income encompasses cash receipts from farming and those farm-related incomes, including government payments minus cash expenses. Now, cash receipts forecast to increase in 2021, but lower direct government farm payments are expected to drive most of the decline. Cash receipts for all commodities forecast to increase $20.4 billion, or about 5.5% to $390.8 billion in 2021. Well, at the conclusion of the National Cattlemens Beef Association virtual business meeting, Jerry Bone, a cattle producer from Wichita, was elected as NCBA president. Bone is a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves and has been part of the cattle industry his entire life. He has an expansive career in the industry since his early days of custom grazing cattle on his family's Flint Hill Ranch, to his time at K-State being part of the award-winning livestock judging team, and then serving some 34 years as manager of Pratt Feeders. That's a commercial cattle feeding operation in south central Kansas. Find more ag news at agview.net. Stay with us. More in a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
And once again, our guest is a holdover, Dr. Roger McClain, who, of course, joins us every month. We talk about ag in the courtroom, but earlier in this year, we did the not quite top 10 or the not top 10 list of ag activities from a legal standpoint. Last week, we went from number 10 to number 6, down in the top 5 on this week. So welcome back, Dr. McClain. Let's get right to it. Boy, so far, the first 5 leading up have been just some amazing things. So what's your number 5?
Number five, I've got the whole issue with respect to dicamba drift damages. And of course, this was a problem that's been out there for a few years because of the change in formulation of dicamba. It's very volatile. And if it's not applied precisely correct and you've got a different formulation than what you're anticipating, then you can have some drift issues. Well, a major decision in 2020 involving the largest peach farming operation in Missouri, down in the Boot Heel area of Missouri. And the jury returned a $265 million judgment against Monsanto, Bayer, and BASF. 15 million of that was compensatory, with 250 million of that judgment being punitive damages. And the litigation continued throughout 2020. The trial court ultimately did uphold that $15 million compensatory damage award. They cut down the punitive damage award because of the statutory limitation in Missouri. But that case, again, is also on appeal. And so we're going to see that in 2021. The dicamba drift issue is not going to go away.
I'm sure not. Number four.
Number four is a U.S. Supreme Court opinion. As we get higher on the list, the level of court, if it's a court opinion, is going to go up. So here we are at the U.S. Supreme Court. And what the court was dealing with in 2020 was three lower court opinions. The circuit courts of appeal split on an issue as to whether you have to have a federal National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit under the Clean Water Act to discharge a pollutant into a WOTUS if it first goes into groundwater. Now, groundwater discharges are exempt, but what if it ultimately filters through the groundwater and ends up in a WOTUS? And the lower courts, as I said, had split on that, and the Supreme Court did what the Supreme Court in the I guess in the Roberts years, I would call this, is known for. They punted it back to the lower court with kind of, I would say, an amorphous standard, functional equivalency. So if your discharge into the groundwater is the functional equivalent of a direct discharge into a WOTUS, you have to have a permit, and they're going to measure that based on time and distance. So that's going to require every one of these situations to be litigated, and I think it's just a mess. It's a terrible way to deal with this when you've got a statute that says, no, we don't deal with, at the federal level, discharges into groundwater. That's to be left up to the states. And I think the Supreme Court really kind of clouded this one.
Dr. Roger McClain, Washburn School of Law, is joining us. We're going through the top 10 list of ag kind of in the courtroom, or ag through the legal system in 2020. Let's take a break. We'll come back with the last three in just a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Is joining us. We're in the top 10 list of what he compiled with activities that went on in 2020 when it comes to dealing with ag and the legal system. We're down to our kind of top three, so we'll kick it off with number three.
Well, and three people are going to remember the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion involving DACA, and I've got DACA at number three, but it's probably not for the reason that many people think that I have it there. I'm not dealing with illegal immigrants or any type of policy with respect to that. What I'm dealing with has to do with the administrative agency angle. Farmers deal with administrative agencies, USDA, FSA, extensively in their farming operations. And what you had the Supreme Court say in DACA was that even though one president created the program, had an agency created without going through Congress and without going through the Administrative Procedure Act requirements of notice and comment, and have the law, then an attorney general declare the law illegal based on a court's opinion, the subsequent president cannot do the same thing to unwind it. In other words, cannot just simply by executive order an agency to rescind their now illegal law. The court said you have to go through the Administrative Procedure Act notice and comment. That seems pretty bizarre, but we know USDA has a penchant for creating all types of rules without going through the notice and comment procedures of the APA. IRS does this all the time. I'm fearful that this opinion will allow those agencies to continue to do that, and they end up doing that, and those rules end up having substantive legal effect on farmers, and they've never been exposed to the public light of day. And I think that's contrary to the way we operate normally in the United States. So I'm really leery of the impact potentially of that Supreme Court opinion.
We've almost reached the top 10, now number 2.
Number 2 is what I call the public trust doctrine. Now, this is an old doctrine, and it's a carryover in the English law, it was put in the Magna Carta, and was adopted by the states after the United States Revolution. And what it says is that the seas, the oceans, belong to the public. You can't privately own those. Well, there's been an attempt by certain groups, primarily environmental groups in recent years, to apply the public trust doctrine to streams and rivers and natural resources below the surface of farm and ranch land and say that's for the public, you can't privately own those things. So they're trying to overturn vested property rights. And we had 2 cases in 2020, the Nevada Supreme Court and then the Oregon Supreme Court, that said, no, we're not going to expand the doctrine to eliminate vested water rights. In these cases, but I would keep an eye on this. These groups are not going to give up, particularly if you have an endangered species on your property. They're going to continue to claim that that habitat is in the public trust, and you can't own that. And if you do, you're going to lose your private property rights. So those are big developments. Keep your eye on those.
Okay, now we have reached the final, after 2 weeks, the number 1 situation you see with ag dealing in the legal system.
Well, this is as a result, and I think people can probably anticipate it, as to what we were given that came out of China, and that's that virus and the congressional reaction to what was happening in various states that shut down their economies. We got the CARES Act, we got CFAP 1, CFAP 2, then CFAP 3 very late in the year. We got disaster legislation, and then we had significant changes to retirement programs and retirement planning. So PPP and employee retention credits, all types of disaster legislation, ranchers being brought in and eligible for payments under CFAP. And so it just on and on it went, all types of questions. SBA had to deal with farmers for the first time in their history. They balked at first, but it was prevailed upon them that they needed to open this up to ag. But yeah, the after effect of what all this legislation as a result of the virus, that's clearly number 1 for 2020.
Huge stuff, Dr. McClain. Again, if folks want to maybe recap all those and also subscribe to your blog and the other things that you're doing there at the Washburn School of Law, how can they do that?
My website is washburnlaw.edu/Walter, WALTR. And on the homepage down the left-hand side, they can find the link for the Agricultural Law and Taxation blog. There's also a little button they can click if they want an email, sign up to get an email alert when I add something to the blog. Okay,
Dr. McClain, as always, over time, but getting the top 10 list over the last 2 weeks of what's been going on. So we appreciate it, and we look forward to getting into almost, next time we talk, it'll be almost the end of the first quarter of 2021, and I'm sure there'll already be activities for us to talk about. So again, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ken. Much appreciated.
Dr. Roger McClain from the Washburn School of Law. He is a ag law and taxation professor. Stay with us, we'll have more coming up.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The 2021 Commodity Classic is being delivered right to your farm. Registration is open for the online event, which is scheduled for March 2nd through 5th. According to event organizers, the digital experience will focus on providing top quality educational sessions and farmer networking opportunities that are hallmarks of Commodity Classic. Participants can tune in to educational sessions such as When the Weather Waltz Stops, Digital Solutions for Carbon Sequestration, and many, many more. The schedule covers environment and growing practices, new technologies and products, and success strategies. In addition to this great lineup, participants will have the option to connect with industry representatives as part of the digital trade show. If you want to take part in America's largest farmer-led, farmer-focused experience, visit www.commodityclassic.com to register. The website also offers the option to sign up for email updates sent direct to you. Also special this year, the event is celebrating its 25th anniversary of bringing together farmers and industry. Classic is possible through collaboration of the American Soybean Association, National Corn Growers Association, National Association of Wheat Growers, National Sorghum Producers, and Association of Equipment Manufacturers. See you through the screen at Commodity Classic 2021.
Kansas Grain Sorghum is seeking candidates for nomination to the United Sorghum Checkoff Program's board in compliance with the appointment process prescribed by USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service. The Sorghum Checkoff's board offers several seats to the largest sorghum producing state in the nation, which Kansas consistently achieves, accounting for over half of all U.S. sorghum production. This year, 2 positions are open for nomination of Kansans, and for each vacancy, 2 candidates must be submitted to USDA. The appointments are then made by the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. By way of background, the United Sorghum Checkoff Program has been working with checkoff dollars to help improve profitability for sorghum producers nationwide. Since 2008, the Sorghum Checkoff has enhanced its efforts in the areas of research, promotion, and information to help sorghum producers yield greater financial return. Today, the economic picture for sorghum is bright, with increased acreage devoted to sorghum and growing demand from markets here at home and around the world. More information on Sorghum Checkoff can be found at sorghumcheckoff.com. Prospective checkoff candidates should contact Kansas Grain Sorghum's Executive Director Jesse McCurry before March 24th. You can also hear McCurry as he hosts Kansas Grain Sorghum's feature series, the Sorghum State Podcast, which is a great way to tune in to the movers and shakers within our industry. Find those episodes wherever you get your podcasts or simply visit us at ksgrainsorghum.org. For Kansas Grain Sorghum, this is Adam York.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
During the first week of March, the Division of Water Resources here at the Kansas Department of Agriculture will recognize Flood Safety Awareness Week, which reminds us all about the importance of preparing for and understanding flooding in Kansas, and gives us an opportunity to encourage all citizens to better prepare your homes, businesses, and communities for the upcoming flood season. Floods are a threat throughout the state, and they can happen anytime, anywhere, and without warning. And this spring will bring seasonal rainfall, which can produce the potential for flooding. Before the flood season arrives, be familiar with the potential flooding risks for your area and prepare an emergency kit. When extreme weather hits, monitor your local radio or TV for information. During a storm, follow the key flood safety tips. Don't walk through flowing water, stay away from downed power lines, be aware that flash flooding can occur, and never drive into flooded areas. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Flooding is the most common natural disaster in America and causes an average of $80 billion a year in damage. Our floodplain management team uses advanced digital data to map flood hazard areas as accurately as possible, and we update those floodplain maps periodically to keep pace with new technology and changing communities. We have many useful flood safety resources on our website, including information about the National Floodplain Insurance Program, the Kansas Current Effective Floodplain Map Viewer, where you can check the flood risk zone of any property, and the Floodplain Current, a story map with information on the floodplain mapping process. Find all of that and more at agriculture.ks.gov/floodplain. Floods threaten people, homes, and property in every county throughout the state. Thanks for doing your part to prepare during Flood Safety Awareness Week and throughout the year.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business is started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Jerry Bone of Wichita recently was named president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association during the organization's virtual winter business meeting. Bone has had an expansive career in the cattle industry, from his early days of custom grazing cattle with his family in the Flint Hills to his time on Kansas State University's award-winning livestock judging team to eventually serving 34 years as the general manager of Pratt Feeders. He retired from Pratt Feeders in 2016 but continues to be a part owner and serve on the board of directors. Bone also has dedicated his time as a leader for several state-level associations, including the Kansas Livestock Association, where he served as president in 1997. He said he has immense pride for the cattle industry and is grateful to have the opportunity to give back to the industry that made him who he is today by serving in this new capacity. Bone's term as president, along with a new officer team, was approved by NCBA's board of directors. Don Schiefelbein is the new president-elect. He and his family own and operate a diversified farming operation near Kimball, Minnesota. Todd Wilkinson of South Dakota was elected vice president. Wyoming rancher Mark Easel was elected chair of the NCBA Policy Division, and Nebraska cattle producer Buck Wehrbein was elected policy vice chair. Clay Bertram of Oklahoma and Brad Hastings of Texas were elected as chair and vice chair of the NCBA Federation Division.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hello, I'm Aaron with Pinion Ag, and I'm here to talk about the cash grain markets. We are seeing corn bases hold strong and firm up in some areas around the middle of the country. Kansas City and the surrounding areas have seen some basis improvement in the past few weeks. End users such as Springdale markets continue to remain relatively strong. As we get further into the spring and summer, I would look to see basis get very strong based on thoughts that there's not much corn that remains in the producer's hands on farm. Feedlots have been less interested in more nearby values and are looking into the deferred months as they are fairly bought up for the moment. As with corn, bean basis considerably stronger than we have seen compared to this time frame in previous years. Similar to corn, I would look to see basis improve as we get into the spring and summer. It looks like South America is having a record production, but it looks like a good majority of that crop is priced. New crop bean basis has plenty of room to improve going forward, so I would be hesitant to sell in basis that far out. Wheat basis for harvest is relatively strong right now and may not be a bad idea to have some percentage of your harvest sold at this point. We do not know what protein premiums look like for the summer, but keep it in mind to know that your proteins are and take advantage of that if premiums exist. Milo basis continues to scream if anyone is still holding on to any. For now, new crop basis is strong as well, and it might not be a bad idea to get some new crop Milo priced while the pricing is good. A strong Milo market is contingent on strong Chinese demand, and if we have learned anything from the past years in Milo basis, that demand could change overnight and Milo basis could plummet, leaving producers with a glut of low-priced Milo. If you have any questions or are looking for help getting values on your grain or are wanting other selling advice, give us a shout at 888-452-8751.
That's our show this week. Be social with us at KansasAgReport.net or on our social media platforms. Now continue to be Kansas strong. Take care of those outside critters this winter and stay warm. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. See you next week.